Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our first look at the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. So the original Endorphin Elite was a shoe that we all thought was very fast, very impressive, very effective as a carbon plate racing shoe, but had quite a harsh ride, and for some of us that meant that it wasn't one that we really enjoyed using for longer races in particular, even though it certainly was a very quick shoe. It's fair to say Saucony has gone in the other direction with the second version of the shoe and made it a very soft one. It might be one of the softest foams we've ever seen in a carbon plate racing shoe, in fact. It costs £280 or $275. It weighs in at 216 grams or 7.6 ounces. That's in the UK 8.5. Has an 8mm drop from heel to toe with a heel stack height of 39.5mm and a forefoot stack of 31.5mm. So there's been a few changes throughout the shoe, starting with the upper, which is now a knit and mesh upper with a more traditional design than the one on the original Endorphin Elite, which had lots of little gaps and flaps and that kind of thing. You've got almost like a rubbery heel section at the back here, which holds the foot well with this kind of booty style upper you have all round. You've got a little lace flap that was introduced with the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, which I was a very big fan of, so I'm pleased to see that here. But in general, it's a pretty minimal and lightweight upper, perhaps with just a little bit more support than you had on the original Endorphin Elite. The even bigger change is certainly in the midsole though, which is now made from a foam called Incredirun, which is a TPEE based foam according to Saucony. This is a really soft material, so we previously had Power Run HG in the Saucony Endorphin Elite, which was a very responsive foam, but quite a hard one underfoot, I'd say, compared to some of the super foams on the market. This is very squidgy. You can really squidge it down here and poke into it and that kind of thing, and you've got a full length slotted carbon plate running through that foam as you'd expect. You've also got Saucony's Speed Roll rocker technology, which you pretty much always get with the Endorphin line. And then on the outsole, you've got rubber coverage on the forefoot and heel, as you'd expect, in kind of the key impact areas, with a bit of exposed foam as well to keep the weight down.
So, quick word on fit then. I'm doing this outside, so apologies if there's noise. As you can see, I've just taken these on a very muddy run. But essentially, what I've got here is enough length in the toe box. There's good clearance across the top of the big toe here, and it's quite rigid as well, so it sits and stays in place. But as you come back into this section of the shoes in the UK 8.5, which is what I'd normally run in Saucony, it's very tight on the little toe, it's very squished in here, it's quite a narrow shoe right back in. What that means is excellent lockdown across the midfoot, really good hold. I get great hold from these heels, and even though you've got these kind of sort of flimsy minimal heel collars, I actually find they hold, they don't move, they don't roll down. Everything feels really good back there. I like the fact you've got this sort of integrated tongue which feels nice across the top of the toes. It's quite easy to get the foot in. The major problem comes here in this section with the width, which is a big squash on the toes, and I think actually maybe I would have to go half a size up. I'd recommend looking very closely at the size. Maybe in these, a 9 for me would be the way to go. It was worse on the first run, it was been better on the second run, so maybe this has loosened off a bit, but I still notice it.
When it comes to fit, I made a bit of a mistake when it comes to fit of the Endorphin Elite too, because basically with Saucony I can usually get away with either an 8.5 or a 9 UK sizes with Saucony, because I'm generally a US 9.5, which with Saucony is a UK 8.5. So with things like the Endorphin Trainer, which we're testing now, and the Endorphin Speed 4, I was fine in the UK 8.5. However, the Endorphin Elite I think has unisex sizing, so the 8.5 has proved too small for me. I'm going to try and test a UK size 9 as well to see if it fits better for that. But yeah, I should have gone for a UK 9. So if, like me, you're in between sizes, I would go for the larger one with this shoe, because it's a fairly dialed in fit all round, and you've got quite a narrow taper at the front of the toe box in particular, which meant that my little toe was rubbing a bit when I did my first run in the shoe. Mostly because I'd gone for the slightly smaller size and I should have gone for the slightly larger size. But yeah, it's definitely a shoe that I wouldn't want to be looking at going a half size down at all in. It's quite a dialed in fit all round. Otherwise, I don't have any problems with the fit so far. Like, got this slightly odd heel and booty design, but yeah, they held my foot nice and comfortably and securely on my first run in the shoe. So yeah, I will stick to your normal size, and if you're in between sizes like me, I'd go for the larger one. Good afternoon from London. I am down the track about to do my first run in the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. Very excited. Actually didn't know I was going to have this shoe today. Picked it up on the way to the track. I've got a really long session to do today as part of marathon training. So I'm doing 10 times 1k at 3:15 per k pace with 200 meter jog recovery. I usually give myself kind of 80-90 seconds for that. Then I'm going into 10 times 400 meters at 75 seconds pace with 100 meter jog recovery in between in kind of 40-45 seconds hopefully. So all going to plan. It'll be a nice nice long workout. The shoe, see how it feels at those two paces. So 3:15 a k pace is probably like 10k-ish pace, something like that, and then down to 5k pace for the 400 meter reps. But just, a long grind out session. That's very much key part of my marathon training, and I'm interested to see how they feel. Out of the box, definitely feel softer for sure than the Endorphin Elite 1, so we'll see how that feels on the run. So I'm all done. Long session today, but yeah, felt good throughout it. Had the pace under control, and the shoes felt really springy, really bouncy. Certainly a lot softer and bouncier than the previous model of the shoe, where with the original Endorphin Elite, fast shoe for sure, but what I really got from it was very much the rocker. Really harsh rocker I found. That was very fast. I could run very fast in the Endorphin Elite, but found that it was pretty tough on the feet over even like 10k. I did a half marathon it as well, and it was a bit, a bit tough for that. This new shoe is going to correct that a little bit for sure. It's a much softer foam. This is Incredirun foam, and it's still got loads of spring. Felt really lightweight. A couple of little issues I had throughout the session today. I think I've gone for slightly the wrong size, I would say. I wasn't a big concern. I mean, I did 22k in the shoes today, and it was okay. And the other thing is grip. So it's slightly greasy on the track today. It's winter, you just got that little sheen on the track, and whole session just a little bit of slippage, which is not uncommon. You get it with lots of shoes, but recently I've basically been exclusively using the Puma DV8 Nitro Elite 3 on the track because the grip is so good, and you don't get that here. So there's a little bit of slippage, all the time, which is just makes your stride a little bit choppier. But yeah, actual ride performance was very, very good. That foam is fantastic. I like it a lot more than the previous model. It's still quite a present plate, I guess is the way to put it. You do feel the carbon plate under the forefoot on this shoe, which I more than I find on other carbon plate shoes. Like, it's definitely there, you can feel it, and it's not harsh here. Gives you lots of bounce, but yeah, I think it's still a slightly different feeling shoe to lots of the other ones on the market. You still got that fast, sharp rocker, but now with a bouncier foam that's a bit, more forgiving as well. So that's all very positive for sure. I think Saucony have got, a really nice shoe on their hands here and a really nice foam. I'm interested to see how it feels in the Endorphin trainer as well, which has got the top layer of that foam. But yeah, certainly felt very springy today from the off. I put the Hoka Clifton on for a quick, warm down lap afterwards, and that's a shoe I've been enjoying running in, but it felt like, completely dead compared to the foam on the Endorphin Elite. That's not really a dig at the Hoka Clifton at all. It's just more, the feeling of that bouncy foam with a plate, is so fantastic. So yeah, really enjoyable first run it today. Bags of pace, nice and comfort, loads of bounce, a really special feeling shoe.
So then, just back in the car after my second run actually in the Saucony Endorphin Elite. I've now done a 15 mile there where I did 2 miles warm up, I did 11 miles at sub 7-minute miles, and then I did the last 2 sort of slightly easier recovery. Yesterday I did a 13 miler, which was broken into 2 bits. I did like 10 and a half, very, very easy, and then I did a mile warm up, and then I did a mile at like 5:50 pace. So I've used these shoes for a lot in these first 2 runs. I think the first thing you notice is just how soft the midsole is. It is very squishy. You can feel it when you first put them on. More squishy, I would say, than many of the other super shoes. There is quite a lot of wobble in them. You're immediately thinking, are these going to be stable? How controlled are they going to be? The other thing I noticed is a lot of bouncy energy coming back from them. I find I have to work hard to control the shoe. I think about where I'm placing my feet. When I'm up on my mid to forefoot, engaging that section of forefoot foam, it feels good on resilience, it feels good on bounce, it feels more controlled, there's a bit more stability. When I come back and I'm landing a bit further back on the heels, I notice there's a bit more movement underfoot. The platform becomes a little bit less reliable. The other thing that I feel is there's a slight sort of disconnect from the heel and the forefoot. So if I'm landing slightly further back, I feel like the shoe is almost, sort of, there's a squish in the middle and the 2 sections are doing different things, the heels and the toes. And that doesn't make for the smoothest transition. I got a little bit of suction. When I was running that all out 5:50 mile, that was really noticeable actually, like the 2 bits of the shoe working separately if you caught both of them. That obviously doesn't happen if you're just landing mid to forefoot and you're really punching and you're really up on your form. There's just then I'm just getting good energy. I did enjoy the shoes, both those runs. I ran really well just there, and they gave me everything I needed in terms of that kind of propulsion and the energy and the bounce coming back. I do think they're a lively shoe. I do think they'll be a capable marathon shoe. I think some people may be going to struggle though with how soft they are and the stability and that bit of wobble. It was really wet out there for that second section, and in places the grip wasn't great. If I went off-road onto anything that was sort of shiny and smooth, there were bits of sort of slight cobbled or sort of very wetter pavement on tight corners. Just didn't feel 100% secure in the grip. It certainly wasn't going to handle anywhere it was a sort of thin bit of mud on top, so that was one to watch. Although I wasn't really running around too many tight corners. When I was on good roads, decent tarmac or good pavements, running straight lines, they were absolutely fine. That's where I think the shoe from that first impression ran best, when I was sort of able just to run straight line on a good surface underneath where I was engaging that mid to forefoot, and then there's lots of punch, and it felt every bit as energetic as some of the other carbon shoes that we've got. I do have some concerns about how tight the uppers are. Would worry me. I think over a longer distance, did about an hour and 45 is the longest I've been on feet in the shoe, but to go into 3 hours, I worry about my little toes being squished. I think that's going to be an issue for some people considering the sizing. But first impressions are lively, energetic, not quite as controlled, but I enjoyed it in general. I'm really looking forward to sort of putting in some more miles in them. And I've done obviously now about 28 miles in the shoes. For the 13 miles where I've run in them, where I've been pushing marathon pace all out, running with good form, engaging that forefoot, thinking about my foot placement, you know, it takes a bit of concentration. These shoes have given back every bit of energy that I've wanted them to. They felt bouncy, springy. I do get a little bit of sort of hot spots coming up through the road on some of those miles. That wasn't there today, it was there yesterday. I think they do lack a little bit of reliability in the landings. I feel it's like a little bit of disconnect. I'm also just coming from sort of doing a head-to-head between the Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Adios Pro 4, so that video's on the channel. I've also just run in the Brooks Hyperion Elite 4 PB, which is going to be on the channel as well. Starting to compare all of those four shoes in sort of close proximity. I think there's life in these shoes. I just worry they're not as smooth and the transitions aren't quite as snappy. There's a bit of missing stiffness in the underfoot, which makes that sort of transition just a bit more disconnected. I don't know, there's something not quite there for me from those first few runs, unless I'm really concentrating getting them out of them. To me, there's something of the Adios Pro 4 in that, where it's not quite as reliable in terms of the energy, and I do worry about what happens if you get really tired or you're on an uneven surface and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure I would put them up there with the Metaspeed Sky Paris yet. I want to do more testing before I give that absolute verdict. This is early doors. I think I preferred the sort of more natural ride of the Brooks Hyperion Elite 4 PB that I just did 2 days ago as well. But more testing, more miles, some shorter, faster stuff, all the other stuff, and we'll bring the review and I'll have my verdict soon.
So my early verdict on the Endorphin Elite 2 is that this is a very fun carbon plate racing shoe, like one of the most interesting and enjoyable rides we've tested in a while. Like, it's got a very squishy ride and a really squishy foam underfoot, and it's quite rare to have that level of kind of sink in and bounce in a shoe this light. Like, often when you get the really squishy bouncy carbon shoes, they can be a bit heavier, something like the Hoka Cielo or something like that. But no, this is still a really lightweight shoe, and it does rebound really well. Like, I almost felt, looking back on that session, it got better as I got faster, running those 400 meters as opposed to the 1K reps, and almost felt you get that really nice responsive ping off this foam. And it'd be interesting to see how it fares on longer runs, whether the level of squish starts to feel a bit, troublesome over time, and it just, ends up being not as high a level of rebound as you need with this level of squish. And stability is also a little bit of a concern when you have got such a high stack of soft, wobbly foam underfoot. Like, that wasn't a problem on the track. Obviously, a nice even surface running in regular circles, but it'll be interesting to see how that feels on the road with things like tight turns or potholes or cambered pavements, that kind of thing. But yeah, I really like the update to this shoe here. Like, the Endorphin Elite, like I said at the start, it's a shoe that I definitely felt was very fast. I liked racing in it, but it was a bit too harsh for me. It wasn't a shoe that really worked for me as a heel striker. I slapped through a little bit too forcefully with that rocker and that harder foam, and it just got a bit of forefoot discomfort over longer runs. Don't think that's going to be a problem with the Endorphin Elite 2. It's such a soft foam. I am looking forward to getting out in it again, and it's definitely now something that's really quite different to what Saucony's produced before as well. Like, all of their carbon shoes in general have had a slightly firmer feel, and they've been quite stable as a result. Even the Endorphin Pro going right back to the original version, and then the Endorphin Elite were quite firm feeling, very fast carbon shoes still, but now they've got something that's really quite different, very soft, very squishy, very bouncy. It's interesting. I enjoyed running in it. I look forward to running in it again. That's our first look at the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.